you've got this album that just came out Friday called My Town, and this is some just delicious power pop on this record. I love this, and I want to talk about the genesis of this record because you essentially took a very sort of 2020s approach to this. You've been releasing singles for a while, and then, as I understand it, but please, fill in the blanks. You basically went and recorded 4 songs, an EP, as we would call it, and then bundled that in with the singles you've recorded over the last, 5 or 6 years, and that's My Town. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's 7 years of single releases on Wicked Cool Records, where I've been very happily ensconced since 2017 as a solo artist. And for 6 years before that, being played on the Underground Garage, also owned by Stevie Van Zandt, both owned by Stevie Van Zandt, with another concern I was in before that. So there's been a long relationship, now 12 years with Stevie Van Zandt, with Wicked Cool Records, with the Underground Garage. They came to me after that previous band, the Bayonets, wrapped up, and asked if I'd like a singles deal, solo singles deal. And I said, hell yeah. I mean, they came to me, and I just feel really lucky to be able to pull ideas out of the sky and then hear them on the radio. It's an amazing feeling. And they've been really great proponents of my work, really supportive, really smart. Stevie Van Zandt is like the amazing sort of domo of music. He knows more about music than your 10 smartest guys. And then he also goes out and rocks out with Bruce Springsteen. So it's a real honor to be around him and to be sort of mentored by him, to be co-writing with him, as the case with my most recent single. Yeah, man, a bunch of singles that I did. Some were not released on vinyl. So this gave us a chance to put everything together, as you said, on a vinyl album or a CD, along with 4 brand new tracks. So it's a cool grouping of material, and I'm really pleased to be doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got to listen to it, and I mean, I loved everything. It's tight power pop with great little hooks and lush harmonies and fun guitars, and that's great. The Pirate Radio song, that's the name of it, right? Pirate Radio.
Yeah,
that was the one that jumped out as my favorite on my first listen through. So
Thanks so much, man. That's amazing. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that song was obviously, as are a few of these, autobiographical. I was born and raised here in California, a Valley kid out there in Glendale, which I call the gateway to Burbank. And I was, really into early rock and roll, surf music, and rockabilly and Guitar Heroes.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry, you've gone away. Are you okay there? Nope. Can you hear me?
Yep. I got all your audio. You're totally fine. Yep.
So, I was in love with all of the earliest rock and roll music, and this is well before Motown and well before the Beatles came over. I got a transistor radio for Christmas, and what they look sort of like, you remember a Walkman, They look like that, except they had a single earpiece and a sort of lousy
antenna that you'd stretch out, right?
Yeah, lousy antenna. And you would tune in AM only, because FM wasn't a thing yet, because I'm that old. And you would listen to your favorite stuff, and it was mobile. Go anywhere. Put a couple batteries. You'd be good for about a week. Then you have to put in some new ones. You got your 3 stations in: KFWB, KRLA, KHJ. And then one night, I'm listening in my bed late at night to my transistor radio. Lights are off. I'm supposed to be sleeping. I am not sleeping. I'm listening to the radio, and I'm tooling around on the dial when all of a sudden, louder than any other station, here comes this fantastic like doo-wop and early rock and roll with a little blues in it. And this wild DJ comes on the air, and he has this call sign, and it's like, oh
yeah.
Woo! And he come down the radio like this. Hey, everybody, and
That's a good impression. That was great.
it happened to be, it's a pirate radio station blasting out of Tijuana, Mexico, 1962, by none other than Wolfman Jack, who became very famous. And it lit my imagination. It was my new favorite thing. It was like, God, it was like a drug, and it was only at night. In the daytime, that station was a Mexican evangelist station, like this crazy, distorted, Spanish-speaking evangelist. And then at night would turn into XERB. And man, I loved it. So that's what the song is about,
That's great.
Finding this new drug, this new outlet, pirate radio.
Well, you said something interesting there, that the transistor, and I'm paraphrasing, but the transistor radio made music mobile. And I'm probably about 10 years younger than you. For me, music was always able to be mobile. Obviously, it went from radio to the actual Walkman and now, beyond and beyond. But that's really interesting. Prior to that, of course, you had to be at home or driving in a car, but you as a kid, you didn't have a car, right? So music was not a mobile thing until that transistor radio, and you couldn't hide it in your bed, right? Like you had to listen in the living room or whatever. So,
and what's more, it was mobile in a car, but you're a kid and you don't have control over the dial.
Right.
You can ply your mom or dad with, like a request, but it ain't up to you. They're going to listen to talk radio or classical music or whatever. And you're like, ay. And then you want to rock because now we're rocking, But anyway, story of that song.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about how the transistor radio really was the battery powered transistor radio was really the gateway to that. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
It was.
Are you playing any shows to support the new record?
Actually, no, not really. I'm doing a lot of this, talking to guys like you, and women like you all over the world, actually, because it's a global release. I have some people in the UK helping me to promote, and because Little Steven's Underground Garage, the radio station on Sirius XM, is global. It's in 180 countries in 170 markets in the US alone.
That's awesome.
Because it's everywhere, I get to promote it everywhere. So I'm busy doing this, and then I'm going to get busy working with Paul McCartney on tour starting in September.